Good morning, butterflies and apple pies. Oh, Sweet Bear's apple pie is so good. Sweet Bear? Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. Have you ever gone to see an art film? I remember a few years ago, I was in college and I went to see a friend of mine who had starred in a student film called Ecstasy. And it was spelled Ecstasy. First of all, greatest title ever. And secondly, I remember watching the film and having no idea what it was about. I didn't know the exact message that the director was trying to convey, but the movie left me with all of these emotions and thoughts and questions, and for the next couple days, I just couldn't get that film out of my head. And I believe that's how Jesus' audience must have felt after hearing his parables. In Matthew chapter 23, which is what we're going to be studying today, Jesus tells a series of parables. And you see, a parable is meant to be a story that helps to illustrate a point. However, oftentimes what Jesus will do is he will present an illustration without providing the point. And so his audience is left with more of a riddle than a sermon. He leaves them with more questions than they have answers. These parables of Jesus, they're multi-layered, deep, confusing, and even frustrating at times. And today we are going to dive into just one of those parables and hopefully begin to scratch the surface of what Jesus was trying to reveal about God and his kingdom. And before we read, let me just say, I believe that there are countless things that Jesus was conveying through this story. Today, I have chosen just one of them to unpack. All right, we're ready to go. Let's read Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 through 30. Okay, so in this parable, Jesus tells the story of a landowner whose enemy plants weeds in his field. And it's believed that the specific type of weed that is being referred to here, get ready for a botany lesson, this weed was called darnel, which is actually a poisonous weed that bears a striking resemblance to wheat. And this is where we find our first lesson from this parable. In our lives, there will be wheat. Good, life-giving relationships and experiences. And there will also be weeds. There will be relationships and experiences that are hard and difficult and unfavorable. And what can happen sometimes is that the weeds in life can disguise themselves as wheat. That relationship or opportunity or course of action may look really good on the surface, but once we get close enough, we discover that that person or that job or that thing is actually poisonous to us. So in light of all this, we simply have to remain aware that not all things in this life are as good as they seem on the surface. Perhaps right now you could take some time to answer a question for yourself. Is there something in my life that looks like wheat, but is actually a weed in disguise? If so, what? Next, we find the servant character in the story asking an incredible question. He says, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from?" I love this question because it is a question I ask myself all the time. How many times have you thought to yourself, wait a minute, I'm doing everything right. I pray, I go to church, I work hard, I'm kind to others, I'm planting so many good things in my life. Why are so many bad things still happening? It's in these moments that we could even go as far as to say, God, I thought that you were good. How could you possibly allow bad things to happen? But you see, the parable actually makes it clear that the weeds do not come from God. The landowner says, an enemy did this. And then he instructs the servant to leave the weeds among the wheat. What? You crazy. You see, agriculturally,
Another botany lesson.
the root of darnel would entangle with the root of the wheat. And because you couldn't really tell the difference between the two, you couldn't uproot the weeds without endangering the life of the wheat. And I actually love this because this parable is giving words to a truth that we all sort of inherently know. And that's that life is a field full of weeds among the wheat. Life has good, and it also has bad. And by the way, God never said that he would magically take away all our problems. The life that Jesus is offering in this parable is not one where we ignore the problems or the weeds of this life, but it is about learning to live among both weeds and wheat. It's about learning to be the type of person who can still grow and thrive and praise God even in the midst of difficult circumstances. And it's also about getting your master's degree in botany. Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching another episode of ADITW. If you haven't checked out my video from this past Monday, it's a 7-minute sermon on forgiveness. I think you probably should. Also, we're coming up to another ADITW Q&A in 2 weeks. So if you have questions regarding the Bible, Bible study, quiet time, anything that works with a day in the Word, please ask those questions in the comments down below. And also, one last thing before I go, Christmas is coming up, which means that we're all sort of doing our Christmas shopping, Christmas gifts, if that's something that you partake in. I have an idea for you. I have just recently put up a new product on my store at jonjorgensonblog.com. These are spoken word CDs. This is my very first spoken word album featuring some of your favorite spoken words from this channel. You will receive a signed CD. Those are available, again, jonjorgensonblog.com. What a great gift idea to someone who loves this channel, or to anyone who loves Jesus, or to anyone who's alive. That's what I'm saying. I love you all. Keep being awesome.